Mr. Police.
For John Wick, there was Nico Toscani. Above the Law was released in 1988, directed by Andrew Davis, and starring Steven Seagal, Pam Grier, Henry Silva, and Sharon Stone. A former Special Operations Vietnam vet works as a Chicago cop and uncovers CAA political corruption. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. This is Backtrack Cinema, and we're reviewing Above the Law today for our Action for Autism fundraiser we got going on for September 19th, which the link for that fundraiser is in the description below here. So please, guys, if you can donate little, a lot, whatever you can. And if you can't, that's okay too. The review is still here for you to enjoy. So I went on a little Steven Seagal tear, and there's a lot of these films of his I am familiar with a lot more, like Marked for Death, Out for Justice, Hard to Kill, stuff like that. I never was too familiar with Above the Law. I knew of it. I watched it a couple times, but it's been a long time. When I went back and watched it, I found this film actually quite engaging. I've read some reviews, watched some reviews where they find the story very convoluted, and I do get that, but I actually this was one of the most engaged plots or stories that I've seen from a Seagal film. It really worked for me, like the story part of this. And this was, this is where Steven Seagal, he came out of nowhere. This is, the story's done by him. Him and Andrew Davis, I think, put the story together. If you've seen Code of Silence with Chuck Norris, this is almost like an extension of that movie. Andrew Davis obviously knows how to direct action movies. He went on to go do The Fugitive, but I like seeing the movies he did before he hit that. He did Under Siege again with Seagal. And yeah, I feel like he just gets better and better with his movies. And this is 1988. And him and Seagal and Van Damme both came on the scene at the same time. Bloodsport 1988, Above the Law 1988. I'm not the biggest Seagal fan, to be honest with you. Like, he wouldn't even rank in my top 20 action stars, to be honest. I only like a handful of his movies because I think his career took a huge nosedive. It almost feels like he was a gimmick and the gimmick wore out. Maybe he came around a little too late. I don't know. The fact is, though, that he rubs people the wrong way. He talks smack about a lot of people. He does have a few movies I really like that are bone crunching. He made his mark in the action world. I won't take that away. Not the greatest actor at all, but he does have that charisma. He does have that presence that you need for these, more low-budget action films. You get a completely different martial arts style, and I think that's why people gravitated toward his movies. They were always brutally violent, his movies. They introduced the part of the plot line is his Aikido training. I really feel like maybe that influenced other action movies we see today where they're more bone-crunching and violent and brutal. One of the things in this story I really like is that it seems very unattainable for him to reach his goal. Because the closer he gets to this, he just can't prove things and they knock him down. He gets suspended. He just can't do nothing, right? No matter how close he gets. And you don't really see that a lot in all his movies after that. He always seems to just walk in, get the bad guys and done, right? But here I like how he keeps getting beaten down. We actually even see him get hurt, a little bit tortured. Nothing wrong with the action in this. The action's great fight choreography in this. The Aikido martial arts, it's bone crunching, it's brutal, realistic. You know what I mean? This is when Seagal was actually looked fast, you know what I mean? More bone breaking, realism over spectacle, I guess you could say. There's a convenience store fight that is just awesome and that has all the martial arts that he puts on display here. Now, Steven Seagal, not the greatest actor, as I said. His performance is very wooden, but he does have presence in this. And he's teamed up with his partner, which is Pam Grier. To me, she steals the show. I do find Seagal and her are an odd pairing. I feel like he does not blend with her at all, but I think she's fantastic in it. And she steals a lot of the show for me. I really love Pam Grier. in this movie, to the point where I was invested in her character that I was like, when she gets shot, I was like, no, you did not kill her. We see that she was wearing a bulletproof vest and she was all right and everything. But there's this scene where Seagal thinks she's dead and he's talking to another cop. And, you know, if you had a better actor, selling that scene, the movie would just be elevated. But Pam Grier really elevates this movie. I mean, Henry Silva as the villain, he's pretty much no different than playing the guy he played in Code of Silence with Chuck Norris, but it works. It's very serviceable. I like the realism Andrew Davis brings. I love the setting. A lot of his movies are all Chicago, and he really brings that really cold, gritty feel of that city to life here. Themes of government corruption. This is one man against the system, a trope we've seen in many action movies, but it seems to work. You know, I'm invested enough in Seagal's story here. Like, I was really surprised how much I actually really enjoyed this movie. And really the idea of the movie is that nobody is above the law. Like the title, Above the Law, you really think it's talking about this Seagal's Chicago cop where he goes above the law to get what he wants, but it's really these corrupt officials through the FBI, the CIA. They're all corrupt and they think they're above the law. And that's what it's really about, how no one is above the law. You get a subtle performance here by Sharon Stone back when she was not really known. And I think she actually is quite good in this for what she's given. And she's not in many scenes, but I find her, you know, I find she stands out a little amongst all the other characters and stuff like that. And even though I was engaged with this story, I could see how people would find it convoluted, how there's a lot of plot lines going on and some go places, some don't. Maybe for an action movie like this, there's too much of that instead of feeling more focused. And even though I don't mind so much that Steven Seagal's acting is very wooden, that's the biggest negative of this, is just like, he's not a good actor. He's not a good actor at all. And if you would have had a good actor, it would have elevated a lot of these scenes more. And I think that was one of the downfalls of the Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Seagal's, Chuck Norris. That style of action movie is in a place all by itself. And the 90s kind of got out of that. They started putting actors in these action roles. And I think a lot of ways people just got tired of the bad acting, and that's when studios started putting this better actors into these action roles. But at the end of the day, it's a solid, bone-crunching action movie that I quite enjoyed. I surprisingly enjoyed. I would go back to this one. You got some unique martial arts. You got some a gritty setting. Pam Grier, I think she really steals this movie. She elevated this movie. So I really enjoyed this one. On your next Saturday night movie night, you're looking for a Seagal action movie. Go back to his first movie, Above the Law. You get bone-crunching Aikido martial arts, chases, gunfights, and a decent enough story to keep you engaged and interested. I'm going to give Above the Law a solid B. What about you guys? Did you like Above the Law or didn't you like it? Let me know in the comments below. If you like it, don't you like it? Let's have a great discussion in those comments, as always. If you can donate to the fundraiser for Action for Autism, please donate. The link is always in the description, guys. My name is Jason. You've been watching Backtrack Cinema. I'll see you next time, and I'll see you in the movies. Cheers.